17th meeting of the Kingston Board of Selectmen. Please join me in rising and salute the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. They just came in? Okay. All right. Our first appointment is just walking in through the door. Come on down, gentlemen, Mr. Chinberg and Mr. Goodwin, is it? Did you want to take a minute to catch your breath? I'll take a minute and introduce the board that's here today. To my far right is Glenn Greenwood, who is our town planner, and Susan Eyre, who is our administrative assistant. To my immediate right is Chuck Hart, our board member. My left is Glenn Koppelman, board member and vice chairman, and I'm Ellie Alessio, your chair. We only have 3 board members here today. The others are vacationing, and any decisions we make today must be unanimous in order to be valid, or delayed to a subsequent meeting when we have a full complement of the board. Just letting you know that right up front. Our first appointment this morning is with Mr. Eric Chinberg and Mr. Paul Goodwin from Chinberg Properties regarding tax relief on the seminary property. Good morning, gentlemen, and you may begin.
Thank you for
Use your microphone.
If you'd pull one of these devices in front of you, put it on the table, push the button until it turns green. There you go.
And you're all set.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you. I'm Eric Chinberg, and we're here just to address what we think is a misunderstanding on the agreement that we had regarding the tax assessment prior to the commencement of our 79E. And I think your assessors sort of laid out a nice little memo. There's a lot of points of agreement and a few of disagreement. And so we're here to request that through whichever of the options the assessor suggested, that we continue the agreed assessed value at $500,000 from now through the 79E period. As you know, we've been at this now for a while, trying to find, working with some serious headwinds related to soil capacity for septic issues, and then in the last 2 years, just the interest rate environment and the construction cost environment have made this, super challenging. So we continue to need all the tools in the toolbox, and our understanding of the agreement made a few years back was that the $500,000 assessment would remain, from now through the 79E period, and then it would be assessed at its full value. So that's sort of our request in a nutshell, and we're here to answer any questions.
Okay. Do my colleagues have questions or comments? Glenn.
I think there might be another question to resolve, and that is the formulation of and signing of and registering of the covenant, which, to my understanding, has not happened yet.
Correct.
I think depending on how one might read the RSA, you could come up with different answers. But just for kicks, I went back through some of my records, and before we adopted 79E here in Kingston, we did look at some other surrounding towns who have done it. We looked at Stratham, we looked at Exeter. Exeter was very forthcoming with documentation. They gave us samples of the covenants that they had worked up with successful applicants, and provided us with some good baseline to work with. And I was able to pull one of those up because I wanted to see from the time that their select board awarded the 79E to that project, happened to be the old loaf and ladle, the Sea Dog project. I wanted to see if there was a lag period, and there wasn't. The select board approved it in April of 2017, and the covenant was signed and registered, recorded at the Registry of Deeds on May something of that same year. So there was a 30-day window. Because the covenant kind of sets the framework for whatever the select board agreed to in the granting of the tax relief. And so I guess in my own mind, I was thinking that the covenant is something that would have happened early on, and we haven't done that piece yet. And I was curious about how other towns have done it, and in that one example at least, now maybe there are others, but in that one example, the covenant was done pretty quickly after the select board action. So I'm not sure where you folks are on that.
We've done it several times, and I don't have any problem with establishing, negotiating, and finalizing the covenant, and I believe that we've done that and recorded the covenant. But what's key is when the tax period relief begins. Is it simultaneous to the recording the covenant, or typically it's been when we get a CO?
Yeah, if I may, we've done it both ways. Some communities do it, shortly thereafter the approval of 7E. But the covenant sometimes sits for a little while as we're going through the rest of our entitlement process, and oftentimes will come sort of at the end of our planning board approval, just so that the language in the covenant can be a little more specific to the public benefits that are actually being established. Certainly the covenant needs to be in place before the relief period starts. The earlier we execute a covenant, the more, I know sort of general the language tends to be, just because we don't have an approved, we don't have a planning board set of documents, right? So the exact unit count and occupancy date are a lot less firm. So to Eric's point, we can execute them now. That's fine. We don't feel an urgency on that front. We don't think that the public is not being protected because our project has not created public benefit yet, and the tax relief period hasn't started yet. But either way, it can go either way, essentially.
I agree with I agree with you on such as it is, Paul. I guess my preference would be that we do execute a covenant, because it really kind of wraps up and formalizes the agreement between the developer and the town. I realize that the covenant actually, the ones that I was reading actually put specific dates in, and because you don't have specific dates yet, that might be kind of tough to do, but maybe there's a way that we can do it that gives some flexibility. I don't know, but the covenant at least reinforces what the select board's action was, and the public benefit that was agreed to by the select board at the time. And to be honest, I think that it's good for the town to do this, but I think it's to your benefit too, because the longer it stretches out, you might be ending up here before a completely different board, and there could be even more questions that arise. And so with regard to when the tax relief begins, in my reading of the RSA, I agree with you, Paul, and this is, I'm reading 79E:5, duration of tax relief period. And it's Roman numeral 1, and it says the governing body may grant such tax assessment relief for a period of up to 5 years, beginning with the completion of the substantial rehabilitation. So, I guess one could interpret that a little differently, but I would see it as once the project is done and it's got a certificate of occupancy.
So I don't think we have, I think we're fine with establishing the covenant now, and to Paul's point, it would be less specific. Often we're saying we're creating X number of units and X amount of common space, and in this case that will be not specific,
approximate.
But we could do like a range and just say this is what we're working towards. So if that lack of specificity is okay with you folks, then we're fine to get the covenant done.
Well, I guess we should have discussion on whether or not that is appropriate or not, but,
Yeah, I too agree we need to have a covenant in place, and I think we need to have that done ASAP. You're about to start demolition on the science building, and you must start soon, because otherwise you lose out on that grant, because if it's not complete by the end of the year. So I really think we do need a covenant, and one of the scenarios that were spelled out by the assessor was to date the covenant, the assessment at $500,000 effective of 2024, and to continue that for 11 years as if it were continue with the 79E. That makes the most sense, and it puts a little pressure on you to get going, because we've been feeling like the middle child that gets been ignored for the last few
Well, I
years.
can
No
assure
offense,
you-
no offense, but
I can assure you that's, we've basically tried everything for this septic rights issue, and it's been, we've hit, you know. kind
you've
of a
had some
wall.
challenges, there's
Yes.
absolutely no question about that.
And so I think that we're happy to do the covenant, and I don't think that we want to say that the tax relief period is going to commence a year from now, because we're not going to have the project at a CO
No,
year
I'm
from
saying
now.
the tax relief commenced this year. I'm saying 2024.
Right,
That's
but-
effective April 1st, 2024.
Okay, that's fine, but it shouldn't have an end date, because end date is determined by the number of years of the covenant agreement, starting with CO.
If I may, the way that I'm interpreting this, there's the tax relief period granted by 79E, which commences at completion of the project. So that is a date undetermined because we don't have planning board approvals and have not started construction yet.
Right.
We are asking, and what sort of the other gray area here is that there is a tax abatement in place before 79E period tax relief starts that keeps the assessed value at 500,000. So
Okay.
I think administratively they're probably two different
they're
things.
two pieces, really.
Yeah.
And that may be the case, but I'm serious when I say we feel like we've been in limbo for a while. It's not like you guys aren't doing any other projects. So
Well,
I need a little
those
help
towns
from you.
have
I want-
water and
We're not
sewer,
filling the love
among
with
other
properties.
things.
So why don't we suggest a compromise where
Okay.
during this negotiation on creating the covenant, that we would agree to a date certain that the tax relief period would start. And for me, I wouldn't think that could be any closer than 2 years from now. So if that would be a point of negotiation, then I think we'd be fine. Otherwise, if we agree that it starts in a year, we don't finish for 3 years, it's gonna take us, you know, a year and a half to build it once we get all of our approvals, so.
And we want you to build there.
Yeah.
We want this project. We think you're the best person to make it happen in a very professional and appreciative way of how Kingston looks. So we want you to do it, but you gotta help us out a little bit too.
Well, I'm open to that we
Okay.
would
As am I.
negotiate a date certain, but giving us a reasonable amount of time to get there. So that would keep the fire under us and give you a date certain that it starts.
Okay. Chuck, did you want to weigh in at all, or?
No, my concern was dates as to, you know, being sure that the tear down happens, which obviously you'll do regardless of when you start building. You don't want to lose the money on that. And any other kind of construction dates or that kind of a thing, you just indicated that, you know, right at the moment it's not feasible, but within 2 years it will be, hopefully. So that was one of my concerns.
I'd like to ask Mr. Greenwood to weigh in on this.
Sure. Glenn?
None of you have said anything that is unexpected. And from my perspective, I'm probably the closest to understanding what they've been going through, because Paul and I do talk every couple of months and have kept in contact as to what they've been trying to accomplish. And so perhaps some of that feeling like the left out child is my responsibility. I should have been more forthcoming in keeping the Board of Selectmen aware of exactly how often Paul and I do talk to one another. That being said, I think it is helpful for the town to put something in place so that we have some sort of starting goalpost from which we move forward. And it seems that they're willing and able to do that, so that negotiation should commence.
Okay, I really wanted your input, Glenn, because I wanted to make sure that you weren't of a different mindset.
No,
than
not
anything
at all. I mean, I've been antsy about the demo permit simply because the state has contacted me infrequently, but they definitely, that money has been earmarked.
Right.
And they prefer, once that earmarking process has happened, that it move forward instead of somehow not happening. So
Well, I mean, it's ARPA money that has very strict deadlines on it.
Exactly.
And you know, we have obtained that funding, or had that funding earmarked for this project, and if it doesn't get used, then, and the money expires at the state end, then the state will not have had the chance to have somebody else benefit from the funds. So, can we perhaps get an update on where we are with regard to the demolition project?
Yeah, we are in the bidding process on that right now, so we're anticipating to start that in a couple months. The target is to have it completed by October, so we have all of November to do the paperwork and get reimbursed by the state, and end of December would be the deadline that paperwork needs to be finalized by.
So the money does need to be spent by the end of the calendar year.
It needs to be spent and requested from the state. So there is an extension that the state has indicated is possible. We're not anticipating to need that, but we are mobilizing our team to do it, I would say late summer, early fall. I don't have an exact date yet.
Okay.
Great. Okay, then I think we need to get together and set that covenant and put those dates in place.
Do you want to do the initial draft of the covenant, or do you want us to, based on other projects we've done?
Well, I think that we
have a very drafty one.
We provided an initial draft template that we put together as a starting point. It's got a lot of blank spaces in it, obviously, but it has the basic nuts and bolts there. Glenn, would you suggest that the applicant take that and mark it up, and then we can work with it? And
Yeah, I think that,
do you have that copy?
Yeah, I think I do.
yeah, well, I think I sent it to you. I think it was dated April 22.
Okay.
So as long as that's the date on it, that's the one
If not,
that
I'll
would be a good
check
starting
out.
point.
So we'll just redline that and get it back to you.
And then we can work with council on that, and hopefully have not too many iterations before we have something that we can sign.
All right, well, that'll get that issue 1 going and resolved soon, and then issue 2 is just this continuing the 500K assessment, and I don't know what process that takes.
I don't know either. Is it just an action by this board? Do we?
I think it is. I mean, it's the board's decision to do that. Is that correct, Glenn?
Well, you're asking the non-assessment person here, but that is my
Right,
understanding.
but that was. Even in the Corcoran's Associates pretty much said it was up to the board to decide that or
Correct.
not.
Yeah.
So I would say, yes, we can make that motion and move forward.
I just want to make sure that we're doing it correctly, and that, for instance, if it was something that required a notice public hearing to do, that we make sure to do that. But if it's something we can do at a notice meeting, it's already on the agenda, then, I mean, I'm happy moving forward with it as long as we're doing it appropriately.
I agree.
I think if you vote on it and I bring it to the assessor Wednesday, if there's any other process you need to go through, but it's basically an abatement because they raised it up based on the.
Oh,
revalue.
right. All right, well, let's start with that motion then. We'll perhaps not jumble everything together. Maybe we'll keep them separate so it's cleaner. I'll go ahead and make a motion to abate the taxes on 178 Main Street. I don't have the tax map and lot number, but the old seminary property,
It's 3417.
R3417, thank you, at the previous amount of $500,000, and it would remain that up until the time that the tax relief period for 79E kicks in. Is that sufficient?
And through that period.
Well, and through that, actually, yes. Okay.
Do a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 It's unanimous, it's approved.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll just check to see if we have to still hold a hearing. I don't think so, but we'll confirm that with the assessor.
Oh, for the abatement itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I'll double check.
All right, and then we'll just get,
And so we should do a motion for the, related to the covenant.
Yeah, okay. Yes, we do.
Just want to make sure that we're doing that. So make a motion that the select board will work with the applicant to get a 79E covenant in place for this project, and it will start with the applicant drafting from our template a first draft that we will then review with our council and go from there. And I'd like to put a date on when you would have that back to us. 30 days?
seems that,
Yeah, 30 days is plenty.
I think what's important is that we have it completed before you start demolition on that science building. So
That's,
60 days.
you could make that part of the motion, we're happy to do that.
All right. It just, I think we'd feel better if that was in place,
Yep.
to be honest with you. Okay. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Ayes have it, motion carries.
all right, thank
Good
you.
to go. Thank
And
you.
we'll try to get that draft you.
Great, and we'll turn it around as quick as we can as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, public comment, if there is any at this time, public comment one. Next item is disposition of meeting minutes in Susan.
Yep, couple of different things, but we've been trying to get back through the old non-publics. I'm looking into ways to send them encrypted in an email so that we don't have to have physical copies. It's a little problematic. I can encrypt the message, but the attachment you can still print. So I don't know how careful you want to be with those, but.
I think we should go back to what we initially started doing, and you have a stack of them here at our meetings. Most of us come in at least half an hour before the meeting starts, and let's try to get through them that way.
Okay,
And see how well we do over the next few months, and if it's still a problem, we can try something else, but I think bring them here, and at least 3 signatures or initials on the folder, either way, to keep sealed or to open would be the way to go.
okay.
Okay?
To that.
And we have a recording secretary opening, and where is that, Susan?
Heritage and HDC, we're sharing Sarah Bufano, who is graduating from high school and heading off to college. So I have given them Cindy Mulcahy's email to talk with her because she's already on board with budget committee.
Yeah?
So we'll see how that works out.
Okay, the other way to go is to see if there's another student at the school that would want to,
could
because
do that.
you may run into issues of the number of hours that Cindy's working, and that makes her qualify for full-time, and we're not in a position to offer a
Right,
full-time
yep.
position. So I would look into, maybe through the Key Club at the high school, and see if there is a student or two that would like to make a little extra money,
Okay.
okay? So at this time, I'd invite the department heads that are present. I know we're missing a couple people, but if you all come down. Okay, and, yeah, thank you. I'm going to introduce you all first, and then we're going to start with Phil, because I know you have another commitment, is that correct? And to my far left is Fire Chief Bill Pellerin, our Finance Director and Human Services Director, Paula Mahoney, Library Director, Melissa Mannon, Recreations Director, Paul Butler, building code, health officer, and building inspector Pedro Avila, public works director Phil Coombs, and police chief Joel Johnson. And we're gonna start with Phil, because I know he's got another appointment that needs to be met later today.
Thank you. Just a heads up, so there's a PO for paving for Bell and Flynn in your folder. I did attach an explanation of it, but basically the estimate that's provided right there is more than the PO, because it's more than what we had budgeted for. Part of this is going to entail some road rehabilitation, as in complete full depth replacement, just because we're having a lot of sub-base issues on a couple of the roads, and this is gonna address those. So basically they chew up the asphalt and spit it back out as sub-base, and then we pave over top of that. So that's added some cost to this project.
Does that change anything on the presentation that you gave us at the last meeting?
No, just it increases our cost.
Well, that was sort of where I'm going.
But, so yes, it is going to change the number of roads that we get done. So what is on there right now, we're in the process of finalizing which ones will be done and what will not.
So as a result, we'll be paving fewer miles.
At this point, one of the things we're looking at is just doing a shim course like we did on South Road this year, and then potentially doing a microsurfacing on top of that, because it's really just a cracking issue on those roads. They're not out of shape or have rutting issues. So I just need to get out there and spend more than an hour that I can get to look at it and figure that out. So hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have that done. But I wanted to get on their schedule just to get locked in for the season, because they're filming it. They're full right now. So they're tentatively holding us a spot, but they need a PO. The South Station block work is complete, and the overhead that was done this weekend, and the overhead door company got the door hooked back up this morning, so the building is now secure again. The electrical service should be back up this week, so we will have power back in the station, and then painting will be in the next couple of weeks. SMP Architects came on Friday for a preliminary investigation on the front stairs. You can see that if you were walking in. It's a lot worse than we thought.
Of course it is.
It was, there is not much concrete under there. It's just sand basically piled up. So one of the things I was speaking with them about was actually doing some more demo work, which is probably going to entail us closing the front stairs from here on out. But basically getting half of the stairs demolished. We'll just set the block off to the side. We were planning on doing that work anyway, so it gets us ahead of that. But they need more information to put a plan together. So it's either we do it now or we get a contractor lined up with a lot of unknowns and open it up then, and then have a change order. So I think it's in our best interest to have them armed with all the information they can get, and we just shut down the front stairs for that time.
We're gonna have it posted, give a date to the public so they know they have to come in through the back from this point forward.
Yeah, we have some temporary fencing we've actually borrowed from Newton. So we're gonna set that up in front, and then we'll have signage referencing going around. I'll put together a memo for the committee chairs that they need to open the back door, and that's just the same alarm code as the front door. It's a whole zone, that hallway and up the stairs is the same zone, so it should be fine.
And the key to the doors are the same?
Correct.
The back and the front?
Yep.
And
So that
maybe-
should be the only issue is,
Well, and to Ellie's point, maybe also a notice on the town's website and Facebook page?
Yeah.
So that the public is alerted to it?
Yeah. Also, when they unlock the downstairs door in back, the key is up high somewhere?
oh, the Allen.
For us vertically
Oh, you mean
challenged
Okay.
people.
so that it stays open?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You have to use the little Allen wrench
You
to...
like that, huh? Only a short person would know that.
Sorry, to
That's
show my
okay,
tall
that's-
privilege there.
It's all good, Phil.
So yeah, we'll get that moved down and more accessible, and we'll notify the committee chairs
Cheers.
where those are, so. As far as our workforce, we've been doing primarily drainage work for the past month, just in anticipation of paving. A lot of that's been fixing a lot of the damage we had from the heavy rains pretty much for the past year and a half. The focus area has been on the roads we're paving, but we're also doing a couple different areas that are kind of a high priority. It's just finally dried out enough where we can actually get in there and do the work that we need to do. I did put out I guess we'll call it a press release, but a posting. Just one of the big things we're running into is residents are filling in the drainage swales or covering catch basins over with bark mulch and leaves, or just bringing their road or their lawns right up to the edge of the road. So just reminding people about the town owns a right-of-way in your front yard, and in most cases it's 18 feet. There are older roads where that isn't the case, but that allows us to just keep the water flowing. But what we're finding a lot of times is people call up complaining, my basement's flooding, the water won't leave my road, and they put bark mulch over all of the things that's supposed to carry the water away. So yeah, those are the big ones for me.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Phil?
Yes, before that goes away, just for the front steps, these doors has to be locked from the inside as well. So when they're doing that way, after a meeting, somebody coming out forgetting that there is no access,
yeah, good
they
point.
can open those doors and yeah.
Thanks, Pedro.
Will do, thank you.
Any other questions for Phil? Okay, and Pedro, why don't you go next then?
All right, good morning, members of the board. Good morning, everybody. So we are super busy. We are experiencing a really large volume of calls, some complaints, some other are follow-ups. I was in meeting with some state agencies during most of the past week, dealing with septic conditions and the health officer position situation. We were able to come down to figure many ways to establish procedures and rules and regulations so that we can set a parameter for when we acquire another health officer, things that they can be abiding by, and tightening the processes so that there is a very little room for deviating from ordinance, state rules, regulations. It was a bigger gum that I wanted to chew on, but it has been a really interesting learning process. We already are moving forward with regards to the permitting software. They contacted us with regards to getting in communication with GIS. They are working together to move that along. I have already sent all the applications with regards to the departments. Other than that, I'm actually, again, addressing complaints as they come in, trying to allocate the time for that. Right now, like I said, we are super busy with applications and things, so I'm doing the best we can so that we can address everybody in a timely manner.
Thank you. Questions for Pedro? Glenn?
No, except Phil, before you leave, could you just sit for a sec? Thank you. But Pedro, I mean, I appreciate that you do the weekly report to us, which gives us a sense for how busy things are. And we don't want you and the department to burn out. And so, you know, if you're running up against issues that you need guidance on, you should feel free to come to the board.
Perfect.
Okay. And Phil, could you just quickly do a update? The barn is wrapped up, and could you just?
I was forgetting something. Probably about 15 things. So the structural work on the Grace Staley barn is complete, and the roof is done. We're looking at, so the museum will be moving their stuff in by the end of the month when our lease is up on the storage container. So we've requested that they just keep things a moderate distance from the walls because the siding is going to have to be replaced. What Glenn is trying to do, I believe, or the Heritage Commission as well, is just the volunteers who would come forward with regards to the L to see if they want to undertake the siding project. So we're going to try that out. And we will be putting a French drain around the building. The highway department will be doing that work. That'll be taking a lot of the runoff and kind of preventing the previous problems that we had where things were undermined. So that'll be probably 2 to 3 weeks, depending on when we start paving, but we've got to take care of these drainage issues for the paving projects first before we move on to that.
Thank you. And Pedro, I added to your burden this morning by referring you to a festival posting on Facebook, so just, I appreciate you checking that out for us.
Yes, I saw that also, and I drove by. I spoke also with the planning board chair with regards to the site plan approval that is currently in place, and gather a little bit of history on what's going on there.
Okay.
So I will definitely be reaching out to the business owner and have a little chat, explain him that this is what we got and he has to abide by that. If he wants to resource to the town to apply for a new site plan, we are looking forward to welcome him to apply for it, but he has to follow the proper channels to do what he's doing.
Thank you. And one other thing I had later on our agenda, we're going to approve the posting for the deputy health officer. I just want to verify you want it as a deputy as opposed to just health officer, that you remain as the health officer with the deputy assuming most of the burden of the work, but reporting to you accordingly. Is that correct?
That is correct. I also explained to Susan that after talking with DHHS and DES, Sophia Johnson, who is the director of the health environmental program at state level, she said that there is no limit as to how many health officers can be within a town. And we can still have one health officer. I will remain being a health officer. I'll be on top of those things. Anyways, they are part of also, they entangle at some point with building, and I have to be able to know so that when we're talking, we can understand each other on what we're talking about. So it can be a deputy, it can be a health officer as well. It doesn't have to change if it doesn't need to.
Yeah. I wanted to bring it up now while you were here and not have to wait till later. Thank you, Pedro. Anything else from anyone else? Okay, next is Paul Butler, our Recreation Director. Morning.
Sorry. Good morning. I don't have too much. Camp starts next Monday. We have open house tonight. Counselors will be doing some training this week, and then we have a kind of a pre-camp day for new campers and new counselors to get accustomed to the camp in a smaller group. We did one thing that came up with in our recreation monthly meeting. We were talking about the new field, I guess it's not new anymore, and that the new pit asphalt multi-play something we thought of. Surface, yeah. Thank you. And we kind of talked about, like, because there's been a few people up there when I've been there saying, oh, can I come up, be on the field, go into the lake, things like that. And I kind of just quietly ask them, do you live in Kingston? Are we still, like, say the playground behind the rec center, the beach, the new piece of land up there that we have, the playground over at Stepping Stones, are those all Kingston residents and guests? Is that our policy, or? I don't know if it's been discussed with this board, but.
It hasn't, I don't believe.
The beach has been, for as long as I can remember, the beach is for Kingston residents.
Correct.
Because there's a key and there's, a way to.
Correct, and they get the key from downstairs at the town clerk's office.
Right, and the same thing for the playground, but then the upper field there.
I'd say Kingston residents and guests.
That's what we thought too.
Yes.
I don't think we want to open it, with the exception of an event that we have like Trunk or Treat, where obviously
Correct.
people come from other towns and, okay. And then we're still working to finalize having Brentwood come and use our lake a couple mornings a week because they don't have any water for their camp, and we don't use the water in the morning. And what we would do is we would lend them a lifeguard so that they are covered in terms of having a lifeguard, and they would give us one of their staff so we don't lose any staffing. And I'm excited because I think it will lend to some sharing of ideas with each other, whether it's the waterfront procedures or things that we might do with kids or whatever. And we're also doing, in July, doing Olympics with them, where they're gonna come to us one day and we're gonna come to them the other day, which we will win, obviously, but anyway, so that, but yes, so I guess the question is still, Paula's gonna check into this with the legal team about just making sure we're covered in terms of the swimming.
Liability, yep. Okay.
So Paul, with regard to Brentwood recreation, using the beach,
Right.
Using the water for some limited amount of time.
Right.
There's kind of a quid pro quo there because we have an agreement now with them for you to be able to use their passenger van for events and for transport.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it really was, I mean, they both just sort of came up, and I didn't think like, well, if for some reason we can't use the van, I wouldn't take away them coming to the water. We have a good relationship with them, and we've gone on trips together, we meet together, come up with ideas. I wouldn't want to say it's,
Okay, so they're not related, but they did sort of come up at the same time.
They came up at the same time.
It worked out to be a nice
Yeah.
swap kind of a.
Yeah, I was talking to him and realizing that they don't have any water and that it would be nice to share. It really comes from a conference we had last fall, and people there encouraging smaller recreation programs to share, because you can't all have water and a van and a recreation center and a playground, or whatever. So it's just nice to share those resources.
Great.
Thank you. Any questions for Paul? Okay, thank you. Melissa, Library Director.
Hi, everybody. We have several programs. I passed around a couple sheets. I'm not sure they made it all the way around, but those are our summer programs for June and July, starting with this Saturday at 12:30. We're having dogs catching Frisbee on the plains. I'm excited about that. I'm a big animal person, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We have a science club this summer. We have a science show. Our third annual Imagination Festival is coming in August. Carolyn, our children's librarian, has been working really hard on the summer reading program. Theme Thursdays continue. We have a Smoky Bear event, which I probably should talk to you about. The prizes this year will be tickets to the Topsfield Fair. We've done a partnership with Topsfield, and any kids that finish the reading challenge will get tickets. So lots of fun things with programming at the library. We've got two big things happening. The first is we currently have out an RFP for construction plans for our grounds. We're hoping to raise money through our new foundation and through grant funding to build a pavilion, a playground for older adults, though I've been told not to call it a playground. It's more of a wellness center or workout area. We had a forum on that was very positive. One gentleman told me, I was really, really thinking this was a bad idea till I came and I learned about it. And now he's excited. So if you go to the library's website, under About, it tells you about the Wellness Center if you want to learn more. In addition to that playground, we're also looking to do a kids playground that's very different from the others in town. It'll be mostly a nature-based playground where kids build with nature. And then finally developing pathways, because we don't have too many safe areas to walk in Kingston. So we're looking to create ADA pathways for people to just come maybe half a mile of walkways where people can exercise and enjoy the nice grounds that we have. So the construction plans, we have 4 landscape architects who are preparing bids for us. By July 5th, they'll have the bids in, and then the library trustees will review them to see if we want to move forward with plans. This doesn't lead us to construction immediately. We still are looking to raise funds for that, but with the plans in place, we'll be more successful with grants. We went for a big grant last year, and one of the main pieces we were missing was actual construction plans. We just have a concept plan right now. So, and then finally, another big thing we've done a partnership with 4-H. Mike Smith, the head of Rockingham County 4-H, and I are working together to create programs for older adults and kids, where the traditional 4-H model is grown-ups teach children, but we're also going to reverse it and have the kids teach adults as well, following their 4-H challenge model. We will be the only general 4-H group in the area. The nearest one is Candia, so there is a need in this area. There is horsemanship 4-H around here, several, but no general one where kids are just learning about nature and crafting and that kind of thing, and that's the model that we're looking to find, and that'll begin in the fall. We are looking for volunteers because we would like people like someone. Evie Nathan is one person who head of our conservation commission. She has a lot to share about the outdoors, and she has agreed to volunteer. So we're looking for other volunteers with expertise who would like to share with young children, and I think the age range is 5 to 18. So please get in touch with me if you know of anybody or if anyone's interested in that. And that's what we have at the library.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Melissa? I would suggest when you move forward on that landscaping project, you really should touch base with Public Works, because now you're talking with buildings and grounds in the town, and so you might want to have Phil weigh in or have some other representative from the department, his department, look at those RFPs as well with the
I've told him
trustees.
I'll keep him informed, because we know that he is, with his mowing and everything he does around there, he needs to be involved. So yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, Paula Mahoney, our Finance Director and Human Resources.
We finished with the audit for now. I'm just completing a few additional reports that they asked for, and everything seemed to have gone well. I'm meeting with our health insurance company to get all of the options of benefits that we could utilize from them, because and I'm gonna meet with other companies too, but I wanted to start with our current one to see if there's other options to reduce our costs for health insurance. So I'll be getting information on that. We have our volunteer employee luncheon on Friday, and I'm getting it catered by a couple of companies so no one has to cook. And I think that's really it.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Any questions? Thank you. Fire Chief Graham Pellerin.
Good morning. So as you probably heard, the temperatures this week are going to be pretty high. Tuesday is supposed to be 95, Wednesday's 96, and Thursday's 99. So I've talked to several state officials this morning. I talked to the school department. So as we typically do, the fire station, with your blessing, will be a temporary cooling shelter if people need it during the day. But if people need something overnight, then we can use the school. And I'll just talk to Tom Ambrose and Dan Doyle, and we can open that up and staff it. Usually it's not necessary, knock on wood, but the offer's there if anybody needs it.
Thank you.
Do you have the option of using this space as well, because it does have AC?
So just like security reasons and stuff, the school is easier because they can block off everything but the cafeteria, basically, is what they use.
Okay.
So when we had the nor'easter, we were going to open the school for a shelter. We had 5 elderly couples that needed shelter, but they ended up finding shelter before we opened it. So And the only other thing I have is personnel, still dealing with issues with us. Now I have other departments in the area poaching my guys, my per diem guys and gals. So I'm going to be working with the select board and the budget committee with a proposal for some additional personnel to go on the ballot in March. But obviously not a great time to do it. I don't think there is a great time, tax base wise and everything in between, but my job is to tell the board and the general public what we need to operate a department to keep everybody safe. So that's.
Thank you, Chief. Yes.
Can you or would you be willing to share how the other towns are being successful on poaching? Is it a money issue strictly, or is it other things?
Mostly money, yes.
Okay.
Paul, did you have a comment?
Yeah, so, I don't know how many people have been inside Swayze in the summertime. Thank you. It's incredibly hot, and last year I canceled a pickleball session because of the heat, and I got quite a bit of flack from it. Like, we're adults, we should be able to make this decision, and you're overstepping your bounds, and I just brushed it off and said, sorry, that's, but I feel like if you're worried about that, we should shut it down Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
And I don't play pickleball or whatever, but I would say if it's our facility and we're responsible for the people inside of it, then absolutely, if you feel that it's going to be too hot for
And the best we can
activities.
do is one of those big fans, but that's just pushing hot air around. The ventilation is just not there. And if you're playing, exercising on top of it being 98 or wherever it's going to be, then it's really, and if somebody, and it tends to be older people. So.
The circulation in that gym is not good under the best of circumstances.
It's pretty much non-existent. Yeah.
Right.
And even if you had circulation, if you don't have air conditioning, you're just moving hot air, so it's really not helping. So.
It gets stuffy even on election days.
Right, I'm sure, yeah. So I don't know if.
So I guess I would leave that up to you.
Yeah, use your judgment, Paul.
Okay.
It's 3 days in a row is tough. First day might not be so bad, but the second and third day, it's cumulative now. So.
Right, and they don't play that much on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, honestly, but there's some that play. And I would think only inside. I mean, outside, I don't know. Do we feel the same way about, is it the same? Because outside, obviously, there's air.
Inside will be worse.
Right, so outside, we have that court up at the rec center. I don't think that's a big deal.
Okay.
But.
I'll use your judgment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and again, if you do that, if you're going to do that, Paul, and making sure the public is aware of it, I think on the town's website as well as the town's Facebook page would be appropriate. And you have Recreation has a Facebook page also.
Yes.
So
yeah, and we have an app that would get that out to all of the people that would be allowed to play at Swayze, that have registered and done all that stuff. So I can just do it on that. I mean, I can do it there too, but the app covers all the people that would be able to go to Swayze.
Facebook is for sure. I mean, that's the main vehicle these days.
Right. Well, I guess what I'm saying is nobody can come in, like we monitor who comes in to Swayze so that we don't have too many people. So they really shouldn't be coming unless they're registered and they've paid and filled out the forms. And because if you have people coming, they find out that it's there and they haven't filled out the liability stuff and our code of conduct, that kind of stuff, then.
Okay, so you're saying that members of the public can't just show up and play?
Correct. They can, if we have room, they can register, and Kingston residents go first, but they can't just come in and play.
We're getting a field on this one here.
Yep. As long as proper notice is made, I'm fine.
Okay, good. I think that's been duly conveyed. Anything else, Chief?
I am good, thank you.
And last but certainly not least, our Police Chief, Joel Johnson.
Good morning. So I got a couple things. I'm going to give you our stats for the year, up to date. If you take a look, you'll notice that we have 153 arrests this year. Last year at this time we had 106. With that being said, there's a new trend going on right now, and I don't know if you were watching the news over the weekend. I don't know if you're watching the news over the weekend, but there's a new trend called takeover. And what that is a bunch of hundreds of individuals go on Snapchat. And they all pick a place and a date and time where they're gonna get in their cars and they're gonna go to a parking lot somewhere and just tear it up. Saturday night into Sunday morning, they went down to Plastow, and they were just causing all kinds of chaos, spinning out, breaking windows. They were actually firing fireworks at the chief of police when he showed up.
Get out.
Okay? They dispersed, as they were dispersing, Sergeant Pelletier was called to go back them up. While he was en route, they told him to cancel because everybody just took off. As he was sitting on the side of the road at the Plastow line, one of those vehicles went speeding through town. Sergeant Pelletier began pursuing the vehicle where he lost it because it was going so fast. He broke off the pursuit, which is good. That's what we want him to do if it gets too dangerous, whatever. As he was headed northbound, he did see it turn onto New Boston Road where they later crashed. There was 4 juveniles in the car. They crashed, took a pole down, minor injuries, but he ended up taking all 4 into custody. Okay, this is gonna go on. It happened in Seabrook. This is the new trend, and hopefully they won't come. The only place I can picture them doing it is at the Kingston Plaza, which is kind of small with the amount of vehicles that show up. So hopefully, knock on wood, that won't happen. So another reason stats are going up because of this type of behavior. It's the beginning of summer. I can only imagine what's going to happen in the near future. So be prepared for some chaos.
But where's the kindness that goes with the chaos?
The what?
Where's the kindness that goes with that chaos?
Done.
Done, yeah.
There's none. So I don't know if it's related, but Methuen had a whole bunch of vehicles down there at the same time, similar incident where they actually shot 7, I think it was 7 people. Where there was something going on. I don't know all the details. I know 7 or 8 were shot, and it was due to a large crew in cars. And I don't know if it's related, but I'm suspecting it is. So we'll see what happens. With that being said, we have a meeting today at 2:00, okay, with the town council.
Yep.
I am gonna bring one of my investigators who's gonna assist me in this EES case, so just give you a heads up.
Okay.
And again, just reiterating that we're gonna have next weekend, we're gonna have the Beer Fest. Is it next week?
2 weeks.
2 weekends? Okay.
The summer fest.
28, 29, and 30, right? Okay. I'm a week ahead of myself. That's good. Means I got time. So we're gonna do one-way traffic, just reminding everybody. So, that seemed to go, that goes pretty well.
Again, posted on Facebook.
We're gonna post it
all
on
the
our
sites.
social media. You can do the same. Rate and Highway can do this, DPW can do the same. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for Chief Johnson? Okay, very good, thank you. You're all welcome to stay if you'd like, or go back.
I have one thing I forgot.
Sure.
Just wanted to remind the town, Wednesday is a federal holiday, so all town buildings except PD and fire will be closed.
This Wednesday?
This Wednesday is Juneteenth.
I mean, it's not like a Monday holiday kind of
Nope.
thing? All right, okay.
So I just wanted to let people know.
Okay, thank you. I know Stacy Diane wanted to address our budget chair and a member of the supervisors of the checklist.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to give a quick update on the wage matrix committee.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for getting in their job descriptions. I know that it was difficult to get them all in, but that is very helpful in putting together the wage matrix and making sure that we clearly understand the roles and responsibilities of each person. We are putting together some data using town reports. Our next steps will be to meet with department heads or individuals to show them what we have for data so far and where we need to kind of go in a direction or how to put it together with their help. So we should be doing that, and I think we wanted to try to start meeting with a couple people this week, but we'll probably, with the holiday, maybe next week. Yeah. So we are looking to present to a joint budget and select board in the August or September timeframe, so that we would present where we are with the wage matrix and put it together in that August, September timeframe, so that we are prepared for budget season, which is right around the corner. And so we'll be doing that. And Budget Committee is meeting on July 24th, and we are going to review expenditures. So if any department head gets a note from one of their liaison, it's just because we're looking at expenditures and we may need some clarification, but it's just part of the ongoing budget process.
Thank you, Stacy. Any questions for Stacy? Thanks.
This is
Chief?
something I forgot to ask you.
Sure.
That 2 o'clock meeting, where is that taking place?
It's on a Zoom, so you could be right in your office, I'll be my place.
Okay.
But for those that don't know, there's a personnel issue from a dismissal from 17 years ago that's being reviewed again. And so that's what the meeting is about. But it is a non-public meeting with council. And with limited, the board does not have to be there at this time.
Which means it's a non-meeting, actually.
It's a non-meeting,
With
correct.
council.
With council.
They will send you the link? Yes, I just got it. Did you send it already? Okay. 17 years. Very good, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Those that want to stay are welcome to. If not, you're welcome to go back to your offices. Okay, old business. The first item is the charitable exemption for the Gideon Lodge. I know Ken Waller wanted to be here to address the board about this issue. You do have a letter from him in your packets, and we will move that item to the agenda on July 1st so that Ken has an opportunity to join us and speak to that issue. Okay, unless there's an objection, don't imagine. Yes?
The only thing is that I'm aware that he's in Concord right now, and there's a possibility that he would be back before the end of this meeting. If he does come to the meeting, would you entertain it then, or do you just want to move it to July 1?
I think we should move it to July 1 because it's important enough that other board members not able to.
That we have
be
a
here
full
today.
board.
I would prefer that, to be
Okay,
honest with you.
that's fine with me.
The next item is a prorated application for the total loss of a garage. Oh, no, excuse me. I just jumped down to the next one. The Joe Thompson Memorial. Glenn.
So this is the tree that we planted last year at the fire station. I went by, the tree is doing fine, which is good. We ordered the ground marker to go with it. That arrived, and the Department of Public Works installed it late last week or over the weekend. So that is done. And now the question for us is, how do we want to recognize it, ceremonialize it? However, I think we ought to do at least a gathering there and some formal recognition, maybe invite the family. So I know I approached you, Ellie, and to ask you if you had any suggestions about how we do it, because I wasn't quite sure how we would do that or how we wanted to do that.
I'm open to suggestions. I mean, we should do something maybe Heritage Days.
I mean, if we, that was sort of my thought, was that if we could combine it with some other activities that are going on.
Yeah.
I mean, the Heritage Days, I believe, are not happening on the plains, though, this year. They're at the high school.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Now, there is the fest that...
the Brew Fest.
Yeah,
Summerfest.
Summerfest, perhaps somewhere during that weekend. I mean, it's coming up soon, but...
Well, let's contact Mrs. Thompson first and see, and Eric, and see if that would work for them, or what dates, or if they have some ideas. Let's do that. Because I'm at a loss. I don't know what.
Yeah. Chuck, any thoughts?
No, well, I think you're right, is to have it at some point when something's going on. in the area, which just will bring more people there rather than just saying Saturday at 10 o'clock, 'cause, you know, you'll have 10 people show up.
Yeah.
Would there be enough time at the
Summerfest, you mean?
Summerfest? And that's up, you know, if the Thompsons are all around and say, hey, that's great, we can, you know, publicize it just like it is. And
Well, we should check
Why
with
don't
the
we
fire
start there?
chief. Let's start with the family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to contact them, or do you want me to?
Do you want to do one and I'll do the other? I'll do Eric and you call Robin?
Sure,
How's that sound?
sure.
Okay. Let's see if the Summerfest works. And then, you want to call Graham and check if that's even feasible?
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, item next. We all set for now?
Yes.
All set with that.
Yes, thank you.
The next item is tax deed, Hawks Ridge lots 35 and 20. I think we have some members of the audience that would like to address that. Come on forward, please. Seat, pull up the microphone. State your name and address and proceed from there.
My name is Tony Velagore, 25 Bentgrass Circle. We were made aware that you were going to discuss this today's meeting, and we wanted to come down and to actually see what the board's decision is today, if they're going to make a decision about taking the lots, and if you do take the lots, what's the timetable where we can speak to you about getting them back in control. We have in the last, actually as of this morning, been negotiating with Hawks Ridge to come to a solution. And I think we do have a pathway where we will come to terms with them and the taxes will be paid. So our concern is just your timetable in taking any action today, or when action may be taken, so that if we can resolve this prior to your action, then that might be the solution.
Correct. Comments from my colleagues?
well, I guess the answer would be from Tammy as far as a time element goes. You know, we're not
Susan,
necessarily
yeah,
going to do something
we
today.
do have a
but
time limit, but we have one extension possibility, I believe.
Right. I talked to Caitlin, and from everything I can find out, you've got 3 options. You can, I have a waiver in there, I have it both ways. Either if the taxes are paid, it could be paid through today, and that would take care of it, but that would be both parties signing the paperwork.
Right.
So I don't know if that's,
And both parties means the condo association and the LLC that still owns the property.
right, so they would be signing as, as the owner and you as the agent, but that's one way. The other way, you can waive it, either pending legal review until the next meeting. That's one option where maybe you could explore further what you have in mind. Or we can take the deed. So.
To me, it makes the most sense for, if they can be resolved between the developer and the association, that the taxes be paid, because that's really the only interest for the town, is that the taxes be paid. But you almost need to do the 2 things in conjunction. You could be paid, but we have to have that waiver from both the developer and the association. So.
What would that waiver entail back to the town?
It affects the town because we want to, because you have to agree that you're both going to accept, well, you can pay the taxes, but if you pay the taxes now, for example, it doesn't mean you get deeded the property.
Oh, I understand that, right, because they still have the control, so part of our negotiations with them is that if we support in paying the taxes, simultaneously, they will deed those lots to us, which gives us control to utilize them.
Going forward, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
I agree, all right.
Yeah.
I'd say we would want something to keep in touch with us, give us something in writing as to what's happening, so the board would know what to do at the next
Yeah,
meeting.
I think we're under a deadline to make a decision by the next board meeting in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay. So whatever agreement you could reach with the developer or their heirs,
Okay,
within that time frame would make it easier all the way around, make you happy and us happy.
okay.
Then you'd pay the taxes, and then we could deed you the property, go from there.
May I ask, any updates, Susan, should go through you as we progress? So
Yes,
that you'll
please.
know
Yes, and
before
she-
your next
And
meeting
she
where...
can notify the board, keep us updated over the next couple of weeks.
Okay. The other question is, I know the amount due as per the websites, we have that information. Is the town have any other penalties or fees other than what's stated on the website for amounts?
I have the total due as of today.
Could you give me
So
that?
I can give you the sheet.
Yeah.
I would stay in touch with the tax collector.
Okay.
That might change.
Excellent, okay.
Any other comments, questions?
No?
Concerns?
No.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
This has been a challenge for everyone, and
To say the least.
as long as we remain good neighbors, that's the important part of that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now, new business. The deputy health officer posting draft is in the package. Is there any questions in it? Can I have a motion to put that forward, please?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? We had a clarification from Pedro earlier, so. Any
Just,
comments?
no, I thought the description was fine. I had the same question that you raised with our building inspector, and that is that it was my understanding that we were going to advertise for a health officer, and this is for a deputy, but I understand that the building inspector is essentially is also the health officer.
Correct.
This individual would be deputy reporting to him, and that most of the health officer work would be delegated from the building inspector, health officer, to the deputy.
Right.
Okay. And that this, Susan, this will get posted in all the usual places, in
Yep.
HMA and website and
Website.
et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
we have a motion?
Chuck made the motion, I think.
Second, yeah,
And I seconded it.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item is a proration application for a total loss of a garage on Main Street. And it's from Mr. Howard. My question on this, I'm not sure that we can do that for
Yeah,
a
I
couple
think
of.
I think you gave it back to me because you were questioning what year it's for. And this is the assessor's note here, I believe. But it's not explanatory to you exactly what's happening, so.
Yeah, assessments are made as of what's on the property as of April 1st. I'm not sure we can make any exceptions to that because of other issues until next April, in which case.
Yeah, so I'll get a clarification
Okay.
from the assessor and bring it back.
And then we have a raffle permit request. Mrs. Brown, would you like to come forward and address us on that? Give you a chance to complete your case, so to speak. It's in our packet to be filed, to be signed.
Hello, everyone. Yes, as we typically do each summer, we have a firearms raffle and some gift basket raffles for the Hampshire Kingston Republican Committee. My name is Pam Brown, 23 Sunshine Drive in Kingston. I'm the vice chair of the Republican Committee. So we just wanted to put our request in for the raffle. It's going to be over the 3 days of the Summerfest, not a 12-hour period. So we wanted to make sure we submitted a permit request for the raffle. I have a copy of our, oops, I left it over there, of our rules for anyone who buys a raffle ticket. At no time do we have possession of the firearms raffled. They're kept at the gun shops, the FFLs. That donate the arms, and we've been doing this for years, so we're very clear on the rules to run a raffle.
I wanted you to have an opportunity to address this in case there was a question, because the difference would be the 3 days versus 1 day. So I just want to be sure that there's no questions from the board.
They've been doing it for a long time.
And we promise no sandwich boards. In the past, Ken Weiler had a couple of ancient ones in his garage, so apparently they've been doing that for a while, but that's not necessary at all, so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Okay, item next is, we have a public comment number 2, if anyone,
I've got a quick one.
sure.
Pam Brown, 23 Sunshine Drive. It's campaign season. I'm seeing a lot of yard signs around. I noticed a candidate had placed one directly under our Kingston Welcome to, or thank you for visiting, those white signs that the high school students had made for us, the one along Route 111. I don't think it's illegal, but it's extremely inconsiderate. The candidate should not be attaching yard signs to our Kingston signs. So I mentioned that to Phil as he was leaving.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully that'll be taken down. Thank you so much.
What was our DPW director's response to that?
He's going to look into it.
Okay.
I believe they changed the RSAs. It's supposed to be 30 days before an election, but they've extended the period, so now they're everywhere.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Pam. Any other public comment? Okay, let's move on to board business. We have one abatement recommendation.
This is the last one.
You promised that,
Yeah.
right?
It's just another one, yeah,
It's another denial, if I'm correct here.
right,
But the
with an
amount
adjustment.
There was an adjustment to the amount to $588,000, but denies the abatement request. That's a recommendation from the assessor.
So moved per the assessor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And there are a couple in there that you agreed to with
But
the last
hadn't
batch,
signed.
but I didn't have the paperwork in front of you at that time.
Exactly.
Do you want a motion on the raffle permit, by the way? We didn't do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be, yes.
I would move the approval of the,
The gun permit for the raffle
Correct.
permit to sell the gun raffle.
correct.
Second.
In a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. The Keene Alarm Code policy that what's it? Select Board Guidelines and Procedures.
Just to be signed, right?
That needs just to be signed, because we approved that
You
last week. is
approved it
that
already,
correct?
yeah, just there for signatures.
And the Keene Alarm Code policy, I cannot support it as it's written.
Okay.
So I think we should move this to the next agenda, because unless it's unanimous with the three of us, it's gonna fail outright.
Should be five.
So I think the full board should be voting on that at the July 1st meeting.
I think that would be more information too, to have others here.
Yeah. Okay, and the next item we received was a request for an elderly exemption that came in past the deadline. And I don't know that we can make an exception for this individual, because we could have 40,000 other people coming in to do the same thing. It's my opinion. What is your opinion, gentlemen?
I haven't seen it, so.
Do you need to look at it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel badly that the individual, was kind of late to the party, but again, it's a matter of folks knowing what is or is not available to them, and although there's an RSA that does provide for a retroactive or something, an exemption past the deadline, it talks about the reasons for that being accidents, mistakes, or misfortune. And I'm not sure that being unaware of that this might be available falls into one of those three. I could be argued, but
I feel bad as well, but by the same token, it just opens up too much.
I mean,
That's the deadline. I'm sorry that individual didn't know. There's, application is valid as of April 1st of 2025.
I mean, it would be the same kind of thing for a solar exemption or anything like that. I mean, they all have their deadlines for a reason, and
We're sorry,
In
but-
some cases, there could be extenuating circumstances. I don't think this is one of them.
Right. Chuck, did you want to make any comments?
No,
at all?
that's fine.
All right. There's an application for reimbursement for Rockham State Forest. It's an annual form. And PA survey is another form for us to sign.
Do you need a motion on the,
Do we need to formally deny her request?
Oh, for the elderly?
Yeah.
She should, at least always get the letter back.
Yeah, I'll just let her know that you decided. If you want to vote on it, you can. I don't think it's necessary.
as long as it's clear in the minutes
It's
and
in the
that,
minutes. Yes.
and that this person will be notified appropriately, that's fine.
Well, yeah.
We have some appointments to the Conservation Commission. We have Carl Oppenheimer, Terry O'Brien, Joyce Riney, and Tim LaJoy.
Are these renewals or are these new? Do we know?
I think they're new.
I believe they're new. I believe that there was an opening for 2 people, 2 full-time board members and 2 alternates. So they were suggested to come in and sign in and do their thing, and
I mean, I'm fine with us signing off, but I mean, we did have sort of a practice in the past that individuals volunteering for committees and boards and such would at least come before the board and, you know, just express their interest and take questions if there were any. I know it's hard to get volunteers and, you know, to put them through that additional effort, I don't know that that's necessary, but.
they did, I will say that they did all come into a meeting, at the last conservation meeting.
At conservation?
Yeah, at conservation, and explained, you know, through the board who they were and what their interests were, et cetera. So it's not like they were.
Couple of them I know, and they definitely committed would be great, so.
Well, I don't have any issue with the individuals.
People, it's the process of what.
It's just process, that's all.
Well, they're welcome to come in and say hi and introduce themselves. I guess that's the best way to put it. So your next meeting, maybe say that to them?
I can, or shall we send them a note and say?
You want them to come in?
It would be nice to see who they are. I mean, a couple of them I don't know at all. I know Carl, but.
Yeah, and the 2 of them have got the Bakey Farm out on 107 or 107A. They have a new farm, they young people, herb farming and all that thing. So.
The last item we have is a veterans credit application for 2025. And I don't have anything else on the agenda unless I missed something. Any other business to come before us?
Move the minutes.
Oh, yes.
June 24th. Special and non-public. Special and non-public.
Are you
Moving
moving both of them, Chuck?
Yes, yes.
All right, I'll second.
Okay. Any corrections or amendments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Ayes have it. All set.
July 1st is the
So July 1st is the next
DOAT
regular.
project bids. Won't that be an interesting?
Yeah, it should be. We have no other business to come before us. And so the meeting is adjourned at 12:24.